Okay, so now, first of all, the first part is the learning environment. Though, in as much as the unit takes close to, I think, 9 to 10 pages, though, it's still a bit interesting. All right, so let's talk about the learning environment. Now, a broad term referring to the physical or virtual locations, context, and cultures where students learn. It is often described as the third teacher. According to your unit calls it the third teacher. All right, so the learning environment is the third teacher because school actually is meant to be a place where knowledge is explored, like a community where learning is explored. So a learning environment is characterized by the interface that allows students to register, take courses, stay within the environment for the duration of the course. You know, that's a learning environment. The program will usually include some self-instructional portions along with academic models of a multi-week course. So most times instructor often facilitates this kind of model where they take groups can come in together a week-to-week basis or a seminar assignments, things like that. Most learning environments include an authoring capability for creation of additional courses for the instructor, meaning that the instructor um, can diverse. It can be physical, make arrangement for seminars and things like that. That's a learning environment. Now, the learning environment is seen as the third teacher because without the right environment, you can't learn properly if you don't have the right environment. So, as noun students, your own environment is virtual because as noun students, if you don't have the right virtual learning environment, for instance, you need electricity. These are factors that can affect your learning environment, like electricity. You don't have electricity or power, you cannot attend classes most of the time. You cannot, do assignments and all that because probably your gadgets or the things that you need for your open learning, your open distance learning, ODL, are affected. Another thing is you also need the internet. No access to internet, or yes, no access to internet can limit you in various programs that you would like to do. For instance, going into classes, like what you're doing, going into classes, um, having engagements with other people, going into discussion forums, writing assignments, or doing questions. Like I drop questions for you guys and tell you to go back to read the course, and you understand. So that's what it is. So the term learning environment encompasses learning resources and technology, meaning the means of teaching, the modes of teaching, the connection to societal and global context. All right, and the learning environment also includes human, behavioral, and cultural dimensions, which includes the vital role of emotion in learning. Like I said, if a person is not interested or a person doesn't like the environment, it could be very difficult. When we're talking about psychology, remember when I said if the teacher or if the students don't like the teacher, it's very difficult, or they don't like the lecturer, it's very difficult to like the course. So that's something that affects the psyche. You understand? The same thing in learning environment, if the student is not comfortable with the learning environment, it can affect them mentally, and which will limit their learning capacity. So the term also includes human behavioral, cultural dimensions, including the vital role of emotion in learning. Let's take note of that. And it requires us to examine and sometimes rethink the roles of teachers and students because the ways in which they make use of spaces bring wider societal influences to play animate the educational enterprise. So let us focusing on information technology in education is expanding. Now, the reason for Noun is that Noun can take millions of students. Oh yes, they can. They can take millions of students all at once. But the conventional university, like when we're talking, I remember when we were discussing about the advantages and disadvantages of conventional universities. Conventional universities are limited. Remember when we talked about JAM and we talked about the years that over 1.7 million people registered for JAM. That was 2017, and it was only, mm, I think, was it 700, over 700,000 plus that got admitted. So what happened to the remaining 1 million approximately. At that same year, it was recorded in Punch newspapers that JAM generated some amount of billions for the federal government, you know, and a lot of people didn't still get admitted into the university. That's sad. You understand? That's sad. You waste the transport, waste your money, go to the university to write some bloody post jam, and then you come back and not still have admission. In fact, you pay for hotels because you're going to sleep close to the school and all that expense, all in the name of, hey, let's get a degree, and yet you still would not be assured admission. So the open distance learning, now being the first solo learning system for the open. When I say mono or solo, it means one. That's only learning system that can open distance learning system that we have presently in the country. Well, we can say the first mono being the only federal university that's recorded. And soon enough, you guys will start serving. The NYSC has already been passed into bill since 2017 to 2018. All it takes is for one bloody president to give a signature on that document. I don't know what's wasting time. And Buhari actually signed up the bill. I don't know. They should have signed it by now. Well, we'll get the updates very soon. And I'm sure you guys should have been receiving texts on NYC and the likes. I don't know if you've received any email on NYC, in your Noun email or something, because Noun is actually going to be set for that. All right, and being the biggest institution that have a lot of students, the widest institution in the country as of now. So the focus on information technology in education is expanding from the enhancement of learning spaces, which include factors beyond hardware, software, and network. So the learning environment is a composite of human practices and material systems such as ecology, being the combination of living things and the physical environment. If you're not in the right environment, it's going to be very difficult. If you do not set up your place properly to learn, it's going to be difficult. Imagine learning under heat, or imagine learning, you know, um, learning with a connection that is crazy. You don't have the right internet connection. That's very frustrating, isn't it? So yes, now, when we talk about the definition of the learning environment, according to your unit, it calls it the third teacher. Please take note of that. It's a broad term referring to the physical or virtual locations, context, and cultures where students learn. Take note of physical or virtual locations, context, and cultures. It was mentioned multiple times in that unit, um, Unit 3, where students learn. It is often described as the third teacher. Now, virtual context. In the context of ODL, it often refers to a software-based all-in-one solution that facilitates online learning, similar to a learning management system or LMS. So it facilitates online learning. And to me, online learning is very flexible. You can be running 2 degrees at the same time in 2 different universities, and you'll come outside and get your degree. Come out with double degrees. You can expand your horizon. You can even be in one conventional university while studying in two different various open universities. How interesting is that? That's if you're the academia type, you know people that want to die inside school, like, we have them here. Yeah, raise up, man. All right, so um, in the context of ODL, it often refers to software-based all-in-one solution that facilitates online learning. Then we have components in the learning environment. So these are the three parts of the learning environments that we're talking about. The three parts that you get in page 28 under there. I think there are 4 or 5 paragraphs there. So the 3 points is that the first one is the definition, the second one is the virtual context, and the third one is components. Now, components, it encompasses learning resources and technology, means of teaching, modes of teaching, and a broader human behavioral, cultural, and emotional dimensions, just like what I mentioned. And this was proposed by Wager and Dobbin in 2009. So it's a complex composite of human practices and material system. So the learning environment has been seen largely as a thought teacher, all right, and it optimized students' potential to respond creatively and meaningfully or detract from it. The reason is this: open university students or students that actually go through online education, their theirs is actually kind of harder because They have their own group learning, they have their own study groups, they form their own, society in school. They learn to interact with others, they learn to research on their own, they study hard for their exams, they find a way to get through their tests and pass their examinations, be it flexible, and then they also find a way to balance it with their work. All right, so you guys are balancing work and life, and studies and work at once, which actually makes sense. In on the other hand, you're building your, how am I going to put it? You're building your portfolio, you're building your records while schooling. That actually makes sense. Not letting the school steal away 4 years or give a 4 year gap. And then when you come out, they'll start asking for experience. Now, in the conventional university, when they ask for experience and you come outside and they're asking for experience, and you're like, what? What do you mean? I just came out. I just graduated. Surely I have no experience and things like that. So, um, the the Open University gives us that advantage, and you students that in the Open University is very, very difficult for you compared to those in the conventional university. Though you have the time, but they have their lecturers at hand, they have their course facilitators at hand, they have people they can go and meet. But you guys, you do it on your own. You go there and you ace your papers. You study a lot of documents as you're working, and you can represent those documents and present your project. So it's a lot, it's a whole lot. So components, like I said, it encompasses learning resources and technology, means of teaching, modes of learning, and the broader human behavioral, cultural, and emotional dimensions. So it's a complex composite of human practices and material system. This is what the learning environment consists of. Resources and technology, the means of teaching, like what we're doing now, we're using a means like a platform. Modes of teaching, ours is online, and the broader human behavioral, cultural, and emotional dimensions, meaning we should all have an agreement for us to be in class right now, except there are factors that will be affecting others from not coming to class. That's just how it is. So, um, yeah. So that's it for the learning environment. Then the next part of the unit talks about the teacher in open and distance learning. That's what it talks about. The teacher in open and distance learning. Now, there was no much there's not much say on that, but this is it. The teacher in open and distance learning. Now, you would have noticed, according to your unit states that there is a difference between conventional institutions and distance learning institutions. There's a big difference. Now, these differences are not restricted to characteristics alone. It affects the roles of the teachers too. So, there is no question that the role of the teacher is changing in the contemporary world. The teacher is no longer the dispenser of information. O'Neill 2006 stated that, unlike in the traditional education where the teacher have absolute control of the learning environment and information. Okay, so um, according to Bowden in 1990, he says that commenting on the changing role of the teacher in the open and distance learning system, the emergence of increasingly student-centered learning activities has evolved. That was in the 1990s, facilitated by new instructional technology. So, what is this trying to tell us? That's why our lecturers in open universities are at Abuja. Your head of departments are not in Lagos. In fact, they might be abroad. That's one of the sweetest jobs, I think. Just be one of the head of departments, be getting federal money and travel out. You get what I'm saying? Like, wow, those guys are enjoying. So, they'll just create something, one thing. That's what they'll create. Maybe it could be a video, or create just one thing, and it's not all the time. Drop course materials and their research so people can study, and that's it. They get paid. So now the students, or what the students do is like an automated system, or what the students do is to go in and study. Now it is student centered, not teacher centered. It is student centered. What does that mean? That means that the Students can get information. The teacher doesn't have the power over the entire information as it was before in the traditional institutional learning or traditional education. The role of the ODL teacher is shifting significantly from being a dispenser of information to a more student-centered approach facilitated by technology. This was Bowden in 1990. So the key roles are creator and manager of learning environments. So the teacher's core function is to guide students through the learning experience. Now they lose absolute control, becoming a team member and a guide, tour guide, and all that. So they lose absolute control, becoming a team member. So it involves this could involve managing discussions, contributing insights, and maintaining group harmony and all that. But the thing is, for the main information, it has been stripped away from teachers because of technology. So now it is more student centered than lecturer centered or teacher centered. So the teacher's core function is just to guide students, no longer to give them the entire information. If you need a lot of information, go get textbooks. So what the teacher is going to do or the facilitator is going to do is guide you on the main points, guide you on the things that are important, you know, just like a pilot on a plane. They say the pilot doesn't just fly the plane. The pilot doesn't fly the plane. The plane automatically lifts off from the air. It uses the law of lift, and when it lifts off from the air, what happens is that it defies gravity. After a lot of speed, it has hit the 90 knots, that's nautical miles per hour. From 40 to 90 nautical miles per hour, the plane automatically lifts up. That's law of lift because of the speed. After that, what the pilot does alone is just to direct the plane. That's all. That's all. Not as if the pilot is flying the plane 247. No, the pilots even have the tendency to put the plane on autopilot, meaning the plane will fly on its own, following the directions that have been programmed into it for that destination. Do you understand? So it's just like that's what's happening now with the open and distance learning. All right, the teachers are now guide or tour guide, or all what they do is to guide students through the learning experience. That's all what they do. Guide students through the learning experience. All right. So these are this the role of the teacher in open and distance learning. Another thing is the teachers are instructors. The teacher will provide instructions. Oh, I need you guys to submit this and do that. I want you guys to practice just like the way I say, practice your summary and the questions I drop forward. Practice it because I'm bringing out questions from every unit you do not so that you do not leave, we do not have any unit left out. You will understand every unit and know that every question, you will know every question coming from every unit. So no, if they bring out the entire unit, you already know what's up because you already know the questions that are going to come out from each unit. You get familiar with the unit. The more you do the summary, the more you take the key points and you study the questions. Rack your brain, study the questions, you'll be familiar with the unit. Now that is yours. That's an instruction from the teacher. Now it depends on the student to fulfill. So the teacher provides instruction, clarifies specific content, offers individual support, and motivates students. All right. So sometimes this includes clearly defining the learning programs, setting explicit targets, and providing academic calendars and rubrics. They also maintain interaction primarily through email and telephone. Exactly. So it's not all the time, but they can guide you. They can give instructions. Now, facilitator. In collaborative learning model, common in ODL, the teacher manages the interactive process among learners to ensure high learning standards. They often act as a compere in discussion forum. Now, what's the meaning of the word um, compare? I know you must have seen that and be wondering, what's the meaning of the word compare? Now, when we talk about compare, we say compare is a person whose job is to introduce performers in a television, radio, or stage show. All right, that's what compare is. A person whose job is to introduce performance in the television. They call them hosts sometimes. You know, they introduce performance in the television, radio, stage show. Now, facilitator, that's the same thing. A teacher will introduce you to the course. The thing is, what I dropped here is a summary I was able to fish out from your course. A summary I was able to fish out from your course. Already your course contains like 10 pages. I won't start dropping out over 20 paragraphs or 30 paragraphs and say all we need to do is now just start reading. I read the paragraph, take out the important points, and give you guys. I introduce you to the summary, to the entire unit. So because if you start reading the other ones, we might just slip off. You get it's too much. Okay, so now that's for the teacher in open and distance learning, creator and manager of learning environment, instructor, and facilitator. Okay, all right. Do we have any questions on that?
Question.
Yes.
How this functioning in now? I mean, like so far, I've not seen any teacher trying to manage us and every other stuff, except in the learning portal where you have to click and you see the facilitator details and all. But I've not, like so far, I've not seen anything. I don't know if it happens.
Okay, yes, for the open and distance learning, actually, they've created and they're already managing the learning environment. You see those videos, and for you to be able to log into your portal and all that, it's an automated system, but they are the ones managing it. Although, when you check the discussion forums, you will laugh because some people might put in things that make sense, while others will just say, yeah, okay, why, hi. When I was reading through the discussion forums, I was just laughing at what is going on here. Like they asked you guys to discussing what we doing, man. Like we're playing around. That's exactly what we're doing. Most people just write hi, hey, what? So, um, it's meant to be an automated system. Okay, it's meant to be an automated. Uh, it's meant to be an automated system. So they are already creating that part. So for the point one, I'm going to give it to them. For the point two, which is instructor as a teacher in open and distance learning, nah. We don't see them actually. They don't even do it. All they do is collect salary at the end of the month, or government pays them. It's a federal work, and you can use federal work to collect big loans. You get so they are actually facing their life, enjoying themselves. It's only when there's thorough emergency, or maybe the system has failed to work, or there's a breach in the system. That's probably when you see your instructors or your course facilitators reappear. But as long as the system
Yeah, so
keeps it on, nah, they don't. Yeah.
I wanted to say that I would like to work for all these government people so that I can be enjoying like that.
When we say corruption starts from the least of us, we'll think it's play. Yeah.
Yes, now see now they're not doing anything. They're just enjoying government
Well,
money,
uh, they,
enjoying our money.
they've done something before. Like they've done it at the first stage. So now they are just relaxing. As long as the system works, they relax. You know. So all they need
I
to do
also
is,
work for government.
and they don't check the discussion forum because if at all the facilitator or the course facilitator would to me they're meant to have assistants. The professors are meant to have assistants and all that. If they check the discussion forums, automatically you will see that they are meant to give replies to some things, but they don't. I told you guys about my students in the students I had previously, I think 2 years ago in Canada. When I log into their system and all that, when we have their discussion forums, their professors they even reply mine. They debate my points when I'm submitting for the student. They will debate my points. And there's actually other students who also talk about this, talk about that, and I will have to go and reply to another student. It's mandatory, okay? And they will check to weigh your point to see if it makes sense or not. So well here I don't know. Our instructors are enjoying themselves. Now, so the first point, I'll mark it for them. The second one, The third one, facilitator, like collaborative learning model system. Okay, they manage the interactive process among learners and ensure high learning standards. but they don't facilitate. They don't introduce you guys. They do well. If you open the e-learning portal, they will just introduce you to only the entire course, but they don't introduce you to all units. You get what I'm saying? They just at least using interactions. No, they're not interacting with you. They just give you the course material and tell you that, that's their own introduction. We have our way of operating in this country. So for the third point, I marked them wrong as well. Uh-uh. So they just scored only 1/3. Any further questions?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. So the next thing we're going to talk about is the learner. Now, this is for you guys. The learner in the ODL, open and distance learning, learners demography, studies on noun students, your center, which is the Lagos Study Center, studies on noun students, which is your center. They suggest a specific sorry, excuse me. They suggest a specific demographic profile. According to your unit, it talked about gender. Now, in a study that was carried out at the Lagos Study Center, Adewale in 2014 discovered that 40% of the respondents were male, while 60% were female. They're just going to do one research. 1 year, they might just come and say, okay, let them work, you get. Though, while the overall difference in gender may not be high as ratio 40 to 60, it shows that National Open University has more female students than male. See that research? That's at the Lagos Study Center. Has more female students than male. So, and I think our women are getting more educated than the guys. Well, guys, they also Jesus. All right, so being the largest study center of the university in terms of students population, it can actually be a representative of the entire university. That's your center headquarters, the one at VI. Yeah, the one at the island. So, um, as for the gender, female students were 60 according to the studies in 2014 by um, Adewale, and then 40% male, 60% female, 40% male. So you can see you guys are actually beating us when it comes to you guys are beating us when it comes to the educational space. Hmm? That's great. That's great. Now, as for the age, majority. Okay, so there was a table that showed the age. All right, there was a table that showed the age range. It showed the age range of 16 to 20 years, and it said from 16 to 20 years they were 5%. From 21 to 30 years they were 40%. So most of the people that actually applied were the ones from 21 to 30. Now you can see that's a youthful age, right? That's a youthful age. That's the highest percentage there. Young adults, that's the highest percentage there. Now most people, when you tell them now, they say, oh, it's for old people. 31 to 40 years of age were just 25%, and 41 to 50 were 20%, while 51 and above 10%. But the highest was 21 to 30. Most people are just like, the minute you tell a person that you're going to Noun, it's a good school. But the minute you tell a person you're going to Noun, the next thing is, oh, that's only where old people attend. Now, let me just clarify. When you guys went for your matriculation, did you see old people there? Like, did you come across elderly people there?
Yes.
Compare them now to the ratio of the young people that were there.
Young people were so much.
Exactly. So the whole idea that hey, it's for old people and all that, please, statistically, with factual proof and research. That's you see, one thing about facts is data doesn't lie. So if people have done research and someone just blabbing, you don't know anything. You're just blabbing. Go and read the facts, man. There are more young people there. So the majority, 65%, are young adults between the age of 21 and 40 years old. Though students of all ages from 16 to 51 and above are represented in the there's something I'm going to show you. Um, it's just a chart from your unit. It's just a chart. Okay, you see it in page 40 of your unit. It's a chart. Okay, so just check that. It's a chart from your unit. You'll see where I got that information from of the age range and just calculated the summary for you guys. All right, check. So you see the chart. So nearly half of the respondents are in their youthful age. So most of the students in open and distance learning system, even in China, same thing, are within the age of 21 to 40. So the real importance of this is, according to your unit, is finding for you as a student is that no matter your age range, you have your mates to identify with. This means that no one is excluded or isolated in terms of age, and no one should deceive you that the university is only for old people. Duh, you have young people that are already making their masters in Open University. Okay, so now then we move over to employment status. Have you seen the chart? Did you see the chart?
You didn't send it to the group. Oh,
What?
we should go to our course and check it.
No, it's in the group. I sent it to the group now. You have not seen it.
I'm not thinking. Yes. Oh, I just saw it now. So,
All right. So now the next part is the employment status. The employment status. Now, a large percentage are working class. A large percentage are working class, either employed or self-employed. The unemployed were ranking 30%. According to your unit, the self-employed were ranking 24.8%, and the employed were ranking 45.2%. So you can see that most of the people that actually step up with now, the working class students are about 70% of the total population, while 30% of the population are not in any form of employment. They're just at home eating mommy and daddy's money because they feel like now it's quite easy for them and so on. I have a student. This was it 4 years ago? She must have graduated by now. So the thing is, they got her. They rented, like, they took this thing so serious. I was telling the parents that all this for now university. Yeah, they rented an apartment close to. They rented an apartment on the island for her. Jesus, got her the laptop, equipped the house. You know, it was as if, and she was away from these people. They stay on the mainland. Oh. They got the apartment for her. To them, they were budgeting, for the school and all that. Wow. Now that lady now she's under the 30%. Well, for now, yeah. Like, this is actually a flexible stuff. It's meant to give her flexibility to do what she wants to do, if it's to learn any trade or learn any vocation while she goes to school, not for her to be chilling. Then I know they want her to concentrate and stuff. Like, wow, that's very supportive. That's very good. Okay, interesting. All right, so check the employment. I sent that to the group too. Check the group for a spell before you tell me you don't see it.
yes, I've seen it. But
All right, so a large percentage, about 70%, are working class. They are employed or self-employed. We have hustlers, men. Hustlers, men, are in the open university. I bet you all here are either employed or self-employed. One of the two. You guys are hustlers. And people who are hustling and then trying to balance education and all, balance school and working side to side. It's not easy. Representing the true African nature. Hmm? You're giving that African vibe, big African auntie. It's not easy. Right? So yes, we have more working class people in Open University because it's only sensible that working class are in the university because the university gives the flexibility, while 30% are the ones chilling. You get. So this validates the work and learn opportunity of the ODL. Work and learn, get your experience, learn at the same time. As you're getting your experience, you're getting your degree side by side. So when you get a degree, it will match the experience that you've gathered all those years. You're not coming out empty. That's the work and learn. Or you're building a business at the side. That's a work and learn. Understand? You're not coming out empty. You're not. That's just how it is. So now we move into the learning characteristics of ODL learners. That's you guys. All right. So there's a lot under this. There's a lot, and they had close to 10 paragraphs on this. So stretches over to page 34, I guess, close to 10 paragraphs. So what are the learning characteristics? But don't worry, I just summarized it. What learning experiences or learning characteristics of ODL students? Now to succeed, what you guys do or what learners need specific qualities, all right? Moving from the our old traditional method, stereotype. Independence versus collaboration. Let's talk about this. Independence versus collaboration. Well, there are a lot of people that suggested a lot of things. Let me see. All right. So let's talk about it. Learning characteristics of ODL students. It has always been indicated among scholars that there are certain characteristics that marked out um, the distance learners, and these have been used in deciding, the approach they use for learners like this. However, most of these qualities are no longer tenable or can be said to be in contention. These qualities that they brought out in the past for distance learners. For example, Cranton in the year 1989 suggested that most students of open and distance learning institutions are adult students. Now, that has been what is in contention. It's no longer tenable because now it's no longer adult students. Yeah, we have young students. So in the past, the assertion is correct, but across the globe today, the characteristics is changing fast. Remember Adewale in 2014 and Gao in 2012. The two were able to show that currently young adults from 16 to 31 form the majority of the open and distance learning institution students population. This fact is attributable to the low carrying capacity of conventional institutions. So no one hand the problems of unemployment on the other. So you work and learn. So now, the first one is independence versus collaboration. While historically isolated, ODL learners must now embrace collaboration and interaction with peers in virtual settings to avoid isolation. Exactly what you guys are doing. You have some of your peers come together and you're learning courses that are, you know, you're learning courses that how am I going to put it? You guys are learning courses that you offer. That is like, okay, you have 6 courses you learn in a week in this study group, and it's everyone that is offering those courses, right? So you guys are collaborating instead of being independent. You're collaborating because sometimes you might not really have the time to break down or read the entire course unit and then start summarizing it. You might not have that time. Usually, I do wake up very, very early to study all these things. Then before I get to work myself, the thing is just that education is my way. So, I'm an educator. I love that. I love doing research and all. So, The collaboration. You guys are collaborating, and that's one of the characteristics. The secondly, um, secondly is motivation. So you guys are motivated. Learners are generally intrinsically motivated. Okay, you're intrinsically motivated, but actively connect with classmates, and you guys use collaborative platforms to maintain self-motivation and combat distractions or discouragement. There are some groups when you go there, they can discourage you. So that's not a characteristics of ODL learners. You're meant to have a collaborative platform where you're free to ask questions, where you're free to lay out some contributions, where you're free to speak, where you know, where you don't look down upon. Well, those are for matured people that will know how to interact. Psychology, remember? Then adaptation to technology. Learners must be computer literate or savvy. You cannot tell me you're going to write your E exam and then you don't have any experience. All right. Well, if you don't have any experience, well, that first exam, when it touches you, that will be your experience. You understand? So next time you will learn. Well, actually, it's just typing in your matric, and logging in, and then you start the exam by clicking and typing, fill in the gaps. Click your answers, go to next, type in, fill in the gaps, go to next. And that's so when you're done, you see your exam result. Compare it with your TME, you know whether you've passed or not. So when they say being computer literate or savvy, um, it's not so much like that. Okay, so you must navigate to the automated process of ODL, which include admission, registration, your TME submission, electronic examinations, and the likes. For you guys in 100 and 200, you'll still be doing, for you guys in 100 and 200, you'll still be doing electronic exams for now. But just know that your paper base is still waiting for you. So you still be doing electronic exam. And one sweet thing with Noun is they don't strike because of the system is automated. A federal university that doesn't strike, doesn't care what ASU does, they don't strike. That's the sweetest thing now. Anytime you join, it's time for exam. You will write that exam like that. Like now, you guys are having your exam starting December, though the timetable is to be corrected. But you're having your exam starting December. So if someone should join in November, they will still open when I think your e-portal is down for your e-learning portal is down for the time being. I was trying to access it some days ago. The thing is, when it comes up, you still go and do it at your TME. And if you don't want to even do the exam, you postpone your exam. That's how it is. So you can choose to delay the exam or you choose to write that exam. You write that exam that time. You do it. You will do your exam. That's the sweetest part with now. So there's motivation, there's adaptation to technology. You know how to pay your fees. Some people will give money to others to help them to pay their fees, you know, and it's nah. And then they will charge you for something you can do with few clicks by yourself. Something you can just log in and do with few clicks by yourself, you know. So you need to understand or you need to adapt to technology. Not just don't just carry your a fine laptop or carry a fine phone. You should be able to use the laptop or use the phone, not just fine. You get. Next is discipline, self-control, including self-discipline, self-monitoring, and self-management. For instance, you have class now and you're in class. That's self-discipline. Except factors that are touching you not to get in class right now. So you have class now, you're already in class. That's discipline. That's self-management. That's time management. Imagine I should just wake up and say, I didn't inform you the day before, then I'm oversleeping, or probably I'm meant to have slept. Though I don't really have much sleep like that because after this I'm having my STEM club. After my STEM club, I'm having some other students in the night, and it goes on like that. Then I check my Japanese students, so it keeps going on round the clock for me. Probably I can sleep in here, sleep in there, sleep in here, maybe 1 hour. chip in 2 hours here, chip in 3 hours here, like that. That's how I manage my sleep. But it has to do with time management. I know that I've given some set of students this time to be available. I have to be available as well. If I'm not going to be available, I need to communicate and tell them when I'll sit or I'll come back or when I'll be on seat to be available. That's just how it is. Now imagine I don't have that self-management or that self-time. How is it going to be for you guys? Or how will you perceive such thing? That's what we mean by discipline. All right. The facilitators have to be disciplined first before the learners actually have to be disciplined because it's you guys that need the knowledge and all that. But the facilitators will show interest by being disciplined. That's how the learners will learn. Oh, yes, we need to be in class by now. Or this man will not miss class. Remember all those teachers that when you were in school, especially those mathematics teachers or English teachers, they will not miss that class, especially math assignments. Especially math
I think
assignments.
math they are smoking now. It's English that needs to miss class. You see math, that man might not even come to class at all. That one is doing another thing.
Maybe that's your own maths. But in my school, in fact, because I went to a boarding house, so by 5 o'clock they'll tell us that we seniors should go for class 5 in the morning. Bah. And you still hold us down in class. Maybe one biology practical or chemistry practical. They'll still tell you guys wait behind after school. So by 5 we're still learning to 7, we're still learning. From there we go to dining hall. After we eat, we go to prep again, 8 to 10. We'll come back into the hostel. Hostel, you make noise and do all those kind of things. You might not even sleep. Discipline. Then you wake up 5. Some people say you have to wake up 4. Prepare yourself, dress well. You don't want to smell because girls are going to be in class soon. Oh, Jesus Christ. Uh, sometimes I think it's the women that made us discipline. So, discipline, all right? Self-control, self-discipline, self-monitoring, self-management. It is critical due to the physical absence of the lecturer. So since the lecturer is absent, the physical absence of the lecturer or the facilitator or the educator, whoever is physically absent, we need to keep to time. We need to correlate. We need to work together. We need to keep to time, right? Required for systematic study, assignment completion, and time management. So, yes, did I tell you guys? As from next week, I'm creating a platform, and that's our Google Classroom. So it's a Google Classroom. Each course, all you need to do is log in with your email. When you log in, you log into the course. So each course have its own. I'll be dropping summaries there. So each course have its own department. All you need to do is just log into the department. You already know the department you belong to. Log in for that day, and we'll take it up from there. You understand? So you see your course, my summary there already. You see questions, you see assignments that you have to submit, just so I can put you guys on your toes because it's gonna be a lot, you know. So yes, um, that's discipline. Now we also have active participation. Active participation essential for mastery of concepts. Students must participate actively in discussions and chat forums, which we don't do in the e-learning platform, making constructive comments and providing positive feedback. But we play in that discussion forum, honestly speaking. Have you seen the discussion forum? Have you seen that discussion forum? Pearl, have you seen that discussion forum?
Yes, I've seen it. People will just write, hey, okay, hi, hello. But me, I used to answer the discussion like, I don't say hi,
Of
hello.
course you answer it because you know I'll break your head if you go and be writing hi, hello, or okay. I'll come and meet you where you are, appear in your dream. So they gave you a discussion forum to do, and you are you are typing hi. Hi for who? Because if you do not research or if you do not respond, it's going to be difficult. What about you, Annie?
I think the most, like, the main reason why people write I is because you have to add a comment there before you are able to access your TMA.
Yes.
So yes, I did it to an extent. I mean, like, I answered questions to an extent that I was just like, why is everyone sending hi, yeah, yeah? Let me, so I started sending hi, yeah, yeah, because I don't know why exactly.
Any Azam now. Don't worry, you'll come and meet you.
It,
You will
it's
explain why you're writing high.
it's because of time. I can understand. Probably you'll be like, let me just send this thing, Jerry, and let this thing open for me. Let me do my TME because there's no time for that. Well, it's one of those things. All right, so please, you need active participation so you can understand. As from second semester, when you're seeing things like that, follow through actively, please. I'm sure most people were rushing this semester because they got in late. This semester started its admission since August. It was open since I think July ending to August downward. So most people started coming in October and the likes. Yeah, people were entering October. So I'm sure you guys were rushing. And now look at December, you're going to be writing your exams. Ooh. Well, speaking of exams, I'll be preparing your department. I'll prepare all these courses. I'll give separate departments. So all you need to do, you can log into the course anytime and read my summary and also do the assignment because I'll be asking for your assignments. Assignments will mostly be questions. So I'll be asking for that. You'll be seeing most of it in your email as well. So, effective communication, crucial for expressing learning and mastery. This includes avoiding monosyllabic responses, engaging in discursive and dialogical skills like sharing ideas, debating, negotiating meaning. Exactly. You need to share ideas, you need to debate, you need to negotiate meaning. Make the whole thing interesting, okay? And follow netiquette. Now you must be wondering what's the meaning. Actually, that word came out from your course. You must be wondering what's the meaning of netiquette. Netiquette is like a social code. That's what it is. A social code that outlines rules, a set of rules. It just bring out a set of rules, just like etiquette. Etiquette is like your behavior, a certain behavior you should follow. That is the same thing with netiquette. Netiquette will bring out points that you should follow, you know, po like a polite behavior online. So, most communication online, I mean online courses, they take place online and in writing. So there should be rules, and those rules are what we call the netiquette, which are very important for online students. Just like etiquette, you're following those rules. Right, that's what netiquette is. So, and following netiquette, learners must also communicate issues clearly to the instructor. Well, actually, uh, as for your noun open university instructor, they're enjoying their life, so don't really disturb them. Now, reflective skills, the ability to apply frequent and substantive consideration and assessment of one's learning process and product. This is the last part of the unit. This is the last point of the unit. It says reflective skills. Now, it's one of the most important skills expected of an open and distance learning institution student. The BAG in 2007, it defines reflective skills as what is this? This definition was by the BAG in 2007. It defines it as the ability to apply frequent and substantive consideration and assessment to one's learning process and product. Now, though this process, the learner can identify their strengths and weaknesses and build upon an improvement. The same 2007 Seco says this type of assessment takes the form of diaries, online blogs, reflection assignments, discussion forums. These are the reflective skills. You reflect upon what you've read, what you've studied. You reflect upon the discussion, which I'm going to be doing in the classes I'm going to create. That's the Google Classrooms. When you log in there, there are assignments I'll ask you guys that are logged in there to submit. and you will discuss. So I know that you might be tired, so probably 10 lines will be okay. Don't worry. And I will answer those discussions. And now you guys will debate those things because you will do my assignment. Okay? So, um, reflective skills, the ability to apply on each unit will follow through, especially from your 200 level. I want to ensure that when, sorry, especially from your second semester, when second semester starts, we have to be on point. Probably we just started this because most of you just entered. So we have to be on point, following the unit, killing the unit as it goes by. While dissecting and eating the unit as it goes by, so that you won't be left out. No matter the work you're doing, you come back, you still know what's up. So, reflective skills, the ability to apply frequent and substantive consideration and assessments of one learning process and product. How can you assess yourself? That's your reflective skills. Okay, learners must identify their strengths and weakness. Okay, through diaries that they've written before. That's why I say write down. That's why I send questions nowadays so that you can read the summary and rack your head, rack your brain, write down things in your diaries, okay, or through blogs that you've read, or through the summary, okay, reflection assignments and all that. That's what the questions are for, okay. So um, the key points here is learning environment. Was I able to drop your key points? Okay, let me drop the key points for this unit. The key points we talked about learning environments. The third teacher, that's the definition. A composite of physical or virtual locations, resources, technology, human practices, and material systems. Sorry, excuse me. We talked about teacher's core role, okay, shifts from information transmitter to creator and manager of the learning environment. That's a guide, as the teacher's core role is a guide or team member. We said teacher as instructor. Teacher provides instruction, clarifies content, motivates students, and maintains interaction. We talked about teacher as facilitator, manages interactive, collaborative learning processes, often acting as a compere. You understand what compare is now in discussion forums. Hello, what is compare? COMPRE. I explained what that means. Somebody, what is compare? Hmm? You will tell me compare. Sorry? Yes, I can't hear anybody. What is compare?
I must have known that. Please, can you remind us?
Yes, I said compare. Compare is a person whose job is to introduce performers in a television, radio, stage show. All right, that is what compare is. So I said, as a teacher in open distance learning, you introduce your students into the unit. You introduce them. You ask a question about it, that do our instructors do this, or is it active? And we answer the question. So you introduce your students into that discussion, into that unit. That's what compare is. All right, compare is a person that introduces, kind of like they call them hosts nowadays. Okay, call them like TV host or
Please, please, can you help to spell that particular concept you're talking about?
okay, COMPERE. You also see it in the summary. PERE. So I'm dropping in the key points. All right, so these are the key points that you should just go through. Those are the key points for the course. Just go through the key points. We have the learner, teacher as facilitator, manages interactive, collaborative learning processes, often acting as a compare. in discussion forums. Then we have the learner demography. Majority are young adults with more females than males, and approximately 70% are working class. We have independence versus collaboration. We said ODL learners must learn to move beyond traditional isolation and embrace collaborative learning networks. We have motivation. Requires strong intrinsic motivation and peer connection to combat isolation and distraction. Isolation is very dangerous. Well, not to introverts like me. I'm not actually an introvert. I'm balanced, but I was before. Now, the thing is, isolation is actually quite dangerous. You might not even be having ideas or information of what's going on. You just isolate yourself and you're locked in. When trouble hits the roof, you need people. So please, let's try and collaborate. Then we have adaptation to technology. That's computer literacy is mandatory. At least learn how to type and use the mouse. It's mandatory for all automated processes. Registration, assignments, e-exams. If not, if you don't know how to register your e-exams or do your assignments or do your TMEs or register your courses or pay your school fees, people will be eating your money for that. You see people that will tell you how to pay your school fees or, and all that, to add 20K on top of your school fees. Why? Why? Well, because you don't have that computer literacy. Know how to use the mouse, know how to use the keyboard, and know how to read. That's all. Now, discipline. Critical self behaviors like self monitoring, self discipline, and drawing a personal study timetable are essential. How many of us here have a study timetable? Aside from our timetable, these are our study timetable actually. These are our own study group timetable. But do we have a personal one? Do you go over the summaries again? Do you have time to go over the summaries? Ah, okay. All right. And active participation required in discussion forums for mastery of concepts, which I'm going to introduce to my classroom for you guys, not just passive insights. Then we have effective communication, necessary for expressing, learning, using discursive, dialogical skills, and observing netiquette. We remember what netiquette is, right? The,
Something like that.
sorry,
Yes.
Yes.
okay. And then we have reflective skills, the ability to assess one's own learning process and product. So you have to reflect on your ideas so that you can identify areas for improvement. And that's why I did the exam we had October. You know, most of us flopped in that exam. So that's we urge you to go and study more. You understand? To study the summary more. The exam is not for discouragement's sake. It's so that you can know what's up. At the end of this month, November, you will do my exam. Before you go and start doing that, your noun exam, you'll still do my exam again. So just get ready. Every month, that's how you be doing exam. Except probably December that you'll not do exam because you're through your exam. So uh well come January 1st, you do all my revision exams again for your courses. Because some of you will eat the chicken and go out and do dirty December everywhere, you know. To me, I feel like this December is going to be clean, not dirty, because bills choke. So you do dirty December everywhere and you might forget things. So January 1st, you see my exam for your revision. So
Sir?
yes,
Sir?
you heard me.
January 1st.
Yeah, January 1st, yes. You see the exam. No,
Celebrating.
you can log in on the second. It will be in the classroom. I'll design a classroom. You can log in on the second and do the exam. You get. But January 1st,
Okay.
I'll throw the exam to you guys. So you see the notification in your emails. You just log in and do it. Okay, so we move down to. So we have a new person. What's your name?
My name is Tolan.
Tolani. Okay, Tolani, I'm Wakama by name, or you can call me Gideon. But Wakama is my name. Okay, Tolani, welcome. Welcome to our study group. Tolani.
Thank you, sir.
So I hope it's not much information. I tried as much as possible to keep the summary brief.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So we have I have 20 questions for you guys under this. How do you want these questions? Do you want to answer it in objective format or no? Or we should move to
Is it
module
possible
2.
to have it in subjective? That subjective format, is it possible like some of it to be in subjective format? So we start getting used to it.
Okay. That's like, let's say there are 20 questions. I can put in 10 for objective and the remaining 10 for written. Is that it? Is that the idea?
That thing is much. I mean, like few subjective, please.
So like 15 objective and the remaining 5 written.
Yes, we should just start.
Okay, okay, okay. All right. So
But in a quiz form, right?
yeah, 15 quiz, 5 written.
Like the quiz we do,
Yeah, yeah,
like the quiz we
yeah.
use. Mhm.
So let me just make it a quiz. Okay, I'll be sending the link now. So we have 15 questions for the quiz and what else? What else? What else? What else? What else? And yes, I'll drop the remaining 5 questions for you guys so you can rack. Okay. All right, so that's the mm, multiple choice questions. 1 second. Let me also load mine.
Sir,
Yes,
please, the record of these classes that we've been doing to all this one, um, Salami should need it.
all the records.
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay. And she can just go to the page now. You have the links. She goes to the page, she'll see the remaining ones there. Mm, okay, so the remaining 5, I'll put it here. So,
I said, I thought they did 7%. And these stupid people, Nepal, they didn't bring light. They said there's light in the other street, so I'm going, I might leave
you will not
very
leave.
soon. Not
You will go out and you'll be doing your stuff. You are not leaving.
okay, yeah, I'm already doing that. Okay, I'll do it like this. So now check if it's like this. So I'll just sit down here and try.
So that's the remaining ones. All right, so let's answer this. Okay, let's answer this. Right, so the first one it says, in the context of open and distance learning, what is the most
Sir,
accurate?
wait. It has not loaded. All right, sir. Can continue.
Okay, so in the context of open and distance learning, in the context of open and distance learning, what is the most accurate definition of the learning environment? What do you think? All right, so you said B, right? Okay, so you said a composite system including all technological platforms, content, materials, communication tools, administrative support. Very, very good. Now, mind you, when you're writing my own exam, I will make these things difficult. In fact, I'll make the options. Okay. Well, I'm sure, Pearl, you must have seen that this is a very long. Yes? Yeah, I think she's the one that answered. Tolani, you're the one that answered B, right? Oh, okay. Can you access the quiz?
I'm just joining the call back now. I'm just joining the call back now. I was doing something.
Okay.
Sorry, I explained you guys before.
No problem. Can you access the quiz?
Okay, sir. I will. Let me go to trades.
Is Tolani getting my question? We want to know if you can see the quiz link and access it, or if it's working on your end. Well, B is actually correct. Thank you, Pearl. Tell us when you can access, Tolani. Second question is, why is the learning environment in ODL referred to as the third teacher? The answers are quite obvious, right? Don't worry, it won't be like that in your exam. You know me. Eh, eh, eh. Of course, quite obvious, huh? Yeah, done. All right. Okay. B. Tolani, can you access it now? All right. So he said it is an influential non-human factor that actively shapes the learning process and provides constant feedback and resources beyond the student and primary teacher. Yes, yes. Okay. So B is correct actually. Next question. Number three. It says according to O'Neill, 2006, The role of the ODL teacher has primarily shifted from a sage on the stage to a dash.
See,
Why? Why did you see?
because guide on the side, emphasizing facilitation rather than direct knowledge.
So why?
Like teacher guide the learner through resources and discussion.
Okay, okay. You're reading the answers that are inside the answer, Abi. Well done. You need to understand what it means. All right. It has moved from a sage on the stage to a guide on the side because it's no longer conventional. That's why they said the role of ODL teachers back then used to have total control. Okay, teachers back then used to have total control of the entire knowledge. Teachers had total control of the entire knowledge then. But right now, um, ODL teachers don't have total control of the knowledge. It is now more student based or student centered than teacher centered. So, what the teacher is going to do, just like a pilot's guiding a plane, all right, the teachers or the lecturers will guide the students on how to use the platform or how to go through their course. That's why they facilitate the course for them, give them the key points, give them the necessary things for the course, and leave them to go on their own because the knowledge now is in the hands of the students. That's why. Well, number four. Which of Birch's 1995 teacher roles involved the key responsibility of designing the structure of the course platform, ensuring um, navigability, and establishing ground rules for interaction? Which one? Okay, number four. I said, which of Birch's 1995 teacher roles involved the key responsibility of designing the structure of the course platform, ensuring navigability, and establishing ground rules for interaction? All right. So if you guys are saying D, creator and management manager of the learning environment, yes, we talked about it. That's one of the key roles of the teachers right now. Their key responsibility. They create and they manage. And any ask a question on that. So D is correct. Yes. The next question, number five. Yeah. Can we mute a bit? All right, so number five, say in the ODL context, the teacher's role as an instructor primarily involves which of the following activities? All right, so please do not look at the, okay, yes, presenting subject matter, asking and answering content-specific question and clarifying core concept. Yes, that is C. In the ODL context, the teacher's role as an instructor involves those things. It does not involve providing emotional support or interpersonal student conflict. It doesn't do that. So C is correct. So 6, the ODL teacher in their function as a facilitator in the collaborative learning model is responsible for what? All right, yes. Encouraging student interaction, mediating conflict, and fostering a sense of community among learners. Yes, that's what they do as a facilitator. You need to facilitate the interaction of the entire course. All right. So, number 7, what is a common demographic finding regarding the age and gender of students in open and distance learning as noted in our unit? Okay, that students are often older, not always older, often older, and they are working adults. And there is often a higher proportion of female learners compared to that of conventional universities. Yes, that is B. My number 7. Number 7. Go to number 8 now. The high percentage of employed individuals among students at institutions like Noun highlights which key feature of the university's mission. I think that's very easy. Yes, provision of a flexible work and learn opportunity, allowing students to pursue education without quitting their jobs. Pearl, are you there? All right, so answer up to number 8. Are you there now at number 8? What about you, Annie? I'm sure you're through already, because Annie used to go forward. You're number 15, right, Annie? Eh, are you number 8 already, Pearl? Pearl, are you number 8? All right, so we can't hear from Pearl. Okay, I think that's settings from your phone. Your WhatsApp should be able to appear all over. Your WhatsApp should be able to appear on top of the whatever you're doing if you're in a group voice call. So that should be a settings from your phone, which you do. You will check that. All right, so number 9. While ODL initially emphasizes independence, successful modern learners must also embrace collaboration. This is necessary primarily because of what? So what do you think? We must embrace collaboration. It is necessary. Collaborative study is always faster and less time. No, 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 no. It's not because of that. Learning now requires negotiation. We talked about it. Effective learning requires group activities. Independence is or isolation should not be considered. Instead, it should be group activities that should be considered and social negotiation of meaning, debating, and things like that. So, yeah, this is your answer. Okay, number 10. In no, number 10. Intrinsic motivation is critical for ODL success primarily because, so remember we talked about intrinsic motivation because we do not see our course facilitators or the lecturers, we do not see them. So there is no physical class. So we need that intrinsic motivation. So what's our answer? Exactly. The lack of fixed physical class schedule and constant supervision requires the learner to be self-driven to manage time and workload. That's correct. Okay, let's check the next. It says adaptation to technology is non-negotiable for modern ODL learners due to the reliance on systems like what? When we talked about adaptation to technology, remember? I said that you need to learn how to do these things by yourself. Remember? Remember? Exactly. We need to learn how to go to online portals for registration, our fee payment, get our course materials and things like that. Yes. Answer is C. That's correct. Now, which list contains the four self behaviors like self management, self monitoring, direction, regulation that are key components to discipline for a successful ODL student? Actually, I think they repeated the answer inside they repeated the answer in the question. It is quite obvious, and I'll make it harder next time. Yes, self management. Okay. All right, so the next, active participation in ODL discussion forums lead to greater concept mastery than passive reading, primarily because of active participation involves what? Remember? All right, yeah, yes. So strengthening others' view. Yes, that's correct. That's correct. And 14, we said discursive or dialogical skills are vital for effective audio communication because they refer to the ability to dash. Okay. Yes, that is correct. For dialogical, I said it said they are vital, effective for communication because they refer to things that are needed to manage a dialogue, debates, or ideas online. So yes. And number 15, which is the last question. Netiquette. Yeah, netiquette is essential. Yeah, we explained what netiquette is. What are you asking, Any? But I talked about netiquette. I told us about etiquette. I said it's like a social code that outlines a set of rules, just like etiquette, polite behavior online, rules that we should follow for our online things. That's netiquette. Like etiquette is for good social moral behaviors. Netiquette is for good rules in conducting online things or for online spaces. Yeah, B, netiquette. Okay. All right. So yes, and if you got 100%, well done. If you got 90, well done. 87, well done. If you got 80%, well done. Pass mark in my class is 80 and above. That's pass mark. So in our previous class, you should know that we should put in more effort for our next exam. All right, so by Monday or Sunday nights actually, just I'll put in the classroom and different I'll create the classroom and different course departments. All you need to do is go into the department, log in with your Google, and you'll be able to access it and the email. Okay. So we've come to the end of this course. Do we have any further questions on this or this unit rather? Yeah. Okay. Yes, the one that they gave to us. Yeah. Let me check that question. Wait, hold on. Let me check the question. Okay, that's question. What's the third one, right? Uh, to what extent is the historical assertion that most students of open and distance learning institutions are adult students still accurate? Oh, yes, we talked about it. Um, We talked about it. Okay, so the thing is that the assertion is no longer entirely accurate. They're asking to what extent is it accurate. Now, the thing is, while ODL still serves many adults, recent studies like Adewale 2014 and Gao 2012 that we talked about, it shows that the student demographic is changing fast, with young adults between the ages of 20 to 40 forming the majority. So the shift is primarily due to, low carrying capacity of conventional universities and increasing unemployment. So it has pushed young candidates towards the ODL, that's open distance learning. Now the thing is, while open distance learning was originally conceived largely for adult learners, that was back then, like those who use it for continuous professional development. Its role has expanded significantly to address the high demand for tertiary education among the youth demographic. We talked about this in Unit 1 when we're discussing about open and distance learning, the advantages and disadvantages between conventional universities and open distance learning universities. We talked about how people were not getting admitted, and now most of the people that are now in open distance learning are the youths, mostly adults. You get what I'm saying? So between the ages of 20 to 40, 21 to 40, the majority are adults. Okay, so the question is saying to what extent is the historical assertion to what extent is the historical assertion that most students of open and distance learning institutions are adult learners still accurate today? The thing is that it's no longer entirely accurate because now we have young adults. We have young adults that are in open and distance learning. It was back then that we had more adults. So, due to recent studies like the Adewale of 2014 and the Gao of 2012, we talked about Adewale of 2014 when he did the recent studies of that we have more young females than males in the university, and then Gao of 2012 when we talked about there are more people. Those are the statistics I dropped in those are the statistics I dropped there. One was on age study, okay, and then the other was on the employment, okay, and it also showed that there are more young people that are in the working class and older people. So Gao made the 2012, Adewale made the 2014, and we discussed that also. So the answer is the assertion is no longer entirely accurate because the demographic is changing fast with young adults forming the majority. Okay, Abi, yeah, you're welcome. Yes, where do we have that? Where do we have that? Like where? Okay, 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 okay. Yes, yes, yes. I do see it. Let me see. Oh, all right. So dispenser of information. So what that was actually saying is that during the time, the role of the ODL teacher is shifting. Being the dispenser of information means being the control center of information. Nowadays, we can get information with the use of our phone, with the use of internet. So information is no longer teacher centered, meaning students can also get in their information. Do you understand? It's no longer student centered. It's no longer teacher centered, it's now student centered. So instead of teachers to be the gods, now all they need to do is be the guide. Instead of them being gods, they'll just be the guide to guide the students, you understand, on the course and the unit, while students can get as much information as they want now. So they're no longer the dispenser of information. You're welcome. Any further questions? All right, so I'm going to stop the record now.